Hey, what's up guys? It's Flex and welcome back. So a couple months ago, I installed some dynamic turn signals that I got from DMP Car Design onto my wife's Mercedes C300 side mirrors. And they look awesome and they work amazing. A lot of people have been asking Flex, why didn't you install it on your car? Well, a couple months ago, I actually got a newer version from DMP Car Design and they work awesome. The only thing was I didn't have a spot to wire the startup light. And that's because my car doesn't have puddle lights. And the only opportunity for me to wire them up is to hardwire it onto an existing wire somewhere in the car. And to be honest, it's a lot easier to tap into the puddle light than to do the method that I'm about to show you guys how I did my startup lights. So first, I had to get the wire from the startup light into the door panel. So I've already went ahead and removed the mirror cover, and here's the little circle that I need to pop off. So I'm gonna stick any screwdriver in this hole and just pop it right out. So here's the mirror cover with the lights installed. I went ahead and extended the wire for the startup light. And now I gotta feed it through the top hole and have it exit out the bottom. Once all the way through, now I can push and clip on the cover. Okay, next from inside the car, I'm gonna use a pry tool to pry this cover off. And next I'm gonna pry off the speaker cover. Remove this foam padding. And then I need to remove 3 torque screws. Now I can pull the entire mirror assembly off the door. Okay, looking at the bottom, I'm gonna feed the wire through that hole and then pull it through on the inside of the mirror assembly. And now I can replace that little black cover and it'll snap right in. And I'm going to feed the wire inside through this rubber grommet and then into the door. And now I can go ahead and reinstall the mirror assembly. Now I'm going to sneak the wire through the top of the door panel and have it exit out the bottom. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the 3 torque screws. Reinstall the foam padding. And reinstall the speaker cover. So I took the startup light wire and I tapped it into this connector. There's a big red wire with a white stripe coming out of the white connector that supplies constant power. And here's what it looks like. So when I go to unlock my car, the startup light works perfectly fine. But here's the issue. Every time I use my turn signal, when I go to shut off my turn signal, the startup light powers on. And that will happen when I'm driving, and in my state, flashing white lights is illegal. So I have to find a way to provide power to the startup light, and then as soon as I get into my car and start it, power needs to be disconnected to that light so it doesn't turn back on until I'm ready to get out of my car to lock the car. So the only other option I thought I could do was the dome lights, because when I unlock the car, they turn on. As soon as I get inside the car and close my door, they turn off. But when I tapped into the dome lights directly, this is what happened. Yep, there's not enough power to power up the startup lights, which sucks. So after doing more and more research, I realized there's not really a power source in the car that turns on when you unlock the car, and when you get into the car, it cuts off power. So the only other way around it is to install this. This is a little relay that I got online. I'll leave a link in the description below. What this relay is going to allow to do is I can connect a constant 12 volt power to this, and it will supply power to the startup light. And there's also another part of this relay that I can connect a wire from the ignition. So as soon as I turn on my car, it will cut off the power to the startup light. And as soon as I shut off my car, it'll give power back to the startup light. So this is what I'm going to need to wire up to the startup light to get it to work the way I need it to. And it's a little more involved, but this is how I did it. So here's the relay. I got 2 of these, and you can see there's 5 prongs on it, and 4 of these will have to connect to a specific wire in the door. I'm going to use some scrap wire that I have here, 4 of them, and I'm going to connect to each of these prongs. This prong will go to a ground connection. This prong will go to an accessory wire, so it's a wire that powers up when I turn my car on. This prong will go to a constant 12 volt power wire, so it's a wire that's always constantly powered up. This prong is not going to be used, and this prong will be connected directly to the startup light. So I have 2 options of connecting the wire. I can just wrap them around these prongs and tape them up, but to get a better connection, a lot more secured, I'm going to use a soldering iron and solder the wires onto the prongs. Now that everything is all soldered, I have the black to the ground, the green to the accessory, the red to the constant 12 volt, and the white to the startup light. Let's go install this. So here's the wiring for the relay. Here's the relay with all the wires I soldered to. So the white one was to go to the startup light, and that's here. And then the red one was for the 12 volt constant. I tapped into this big red wire with a white stripe coming out of this white connector. And then the black wire was the ground for the relay. And I tapped into a thick black wire coming out of this kind of purple connector. And then the only thing left is this green wire, and this needs to go to a power source that's controlled by the ignition. So I'm going to tap into the cigarette lighter in the center console. Okay, to get the wire inside the cabin, the first thing I did was I took a really long tie wrap, and then I taped a really long wire to it. And then I'm going to take this and insert it in the door joint. So this boot right here, I took it off, and this hole right here comes out of here. So all I'm going to do is take this, put it there, push it through. Okay, so now the other end of the wire, I'm going to put another tie wrap and then sneak it through here. So here's that end of the wire. I just taped it up to a new tie wrap. I'm sneak it in here so it comes out here. So I was able to sneak the wire and tie wrap right through that little opening above the emergency brake pedal. Then I ran it underneath this black trim panel, and here it is. And now I gotta tap into the cigarette lighter. Okay, the first step is I'm going to put the car into neutral. And then I'm going to lift this up like so. Twist off the little plastic ring that holds the shift knob in place. And pull this up. Then I'm gonna pry this up. Pry this trim up. Get those out of the way. And now for this, I'm gonna push down and pull it towards me. There it is. And then there's 2 torque screws. Push this tray forward and lift this up. And now I have access to the power wire for the cigarette lighter. Okay, now, so I took the tie wrap, I inserted it in the back, pushed it through, and now it's out right here. Okay, so in using a Testlight Pen, I was able to determine this red wire going to the cigarette lighter is the power that's controlled by the ignition. So I'm going to tap that wire, and then once that is done, I'm going to put everything back together and finish the wiring at the door. So the red wire I ran from the cigarette lighter through the door. Now I have it connected to the green wire for the relay. Now I can go ahead and test the startup light. Okay, let's start by unlocking my car. So the startup light works. You see it dances a little more because that's the new version. Now I'm just going to turn on my car. Use a turn signal. So the turn signal is working. I'm going to shut it off. No startup light. That's perfect. Now let's remove the key and lock the car and see if the startup light turns back on. There it is, car is fully locked and the startup light turns back on. So it worked exactly the way I wanted to. Well, there you have it. I know it's a little more involved than just tapping into a puddle light, but this was the only option I had if I wanted those cool startup lights on my side mirror. I hope you guys liked the video. If you do, hit that thumbs up button below. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you next time.